so that we learn from each other. It's not to show you like I'm more clever than you or you're less clever. You see what I mean?
But I just want to see an alternate point of view.
Okay. So what's your question, if you don't mind repeating?
For example, I believe in the Big Bang.
Yeah.
But like, how do you disprove that? How are you going to disprove that?
Okay. So when you say you believe in the Big Bang, explain to me what the Big Bang.
So the universe.
Or how did it happen?
From a small like collision of particles.
Okay.
From like from like one point.
Right.
And obviously that's supported because the universe is constantly expanding. So obviously it had to happen in one point.
Right.
Origin. But
So,
I just don't understand like. So like one main.
So when you say collision of particles, where did the particles come from?
Yeah, that's true. That's what I want to know though. That's like how.
So what we normally use, the argument we normally use for this kind of scenario is like cause and effect. Do you know cause and effect? So for example, for every cause there is an effect.
Yeah.
So say for example you wanted tea, yeah? So you would actually boil some water using either fire or electric, whatever heat, whatever source you want to use. So when the water boils, yes, that is the effect, and the cause would be the fire or the electric.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yes, providing the heat energy for that. So this is what causes. So for every effect there is a cause. So what we say is that for everything that began to exist has a cause. So we know that the universe at some point began to exist. Do you believe in that scenario, or do you believe?
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
But like.
Do you believe that the universe didn't exist at one point in time, and then it began to exist at some point? You believe that?
It's constantly expanding.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't you think if that was reversed, there would be one point where it wasn't expanding?
That's what they call the singularity. So the singularity, that is basically the inception of the universe when it began. So this is what we know, that because even if it's a singularity, it doesn't come by itself. There must be some cause to bring it into existence. It didn't just come from nowhere, because we know that something cannot come from nothing. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be against the principles of basically common sense even, you know?
Yeah.
Because we know, do you know that nothing doesn't even exist as a concept?
Yeah.
So how can we bring into existence something from nothing? So the question is, what caused that singularity? What caused that first moment of existence of the universe?
So your opposition to that basically is just, how can something happen without it happening?
Without nothing.
Okay.
How can something happen from nothing?
Okay.
So there must be some cause, and this cause has to be at least eternally existing, because obviously otherwise you will go into the same situation as what caused that cause. You see what I mean? You'll have this infinite regress. So we know that we wouldn't exist if there was such an infinite regress. So we know that there's no, what do you say, eternal chain of universes which always existed, and then you have one chain finished and then another chain comes into existence and so on of the universe. The reason for that is because anything that's infinite regress, then it doesn't stand. Again, it's against common sense and against science as well, that you cannot have an infinite regress of events. The event has to stop somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes? So just to give you a simple analogy, say for example you wanted to borrow a book from a library.
Yeah.
And there was, imagine if there were like infinite people in front of you.
Okay.
Would you ever get a book?
No. Well, what do you mean? Like, well, if there's an infinite amount, well, you can't. Infinite, it's just, you don't have a value for infinite.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know the concept of infinite, right?
Yeah.
Just like the concept of zero, which is nothing. Yes, you have the concept, the other opposite, which is infinite, which is without limits. So if there was people in front of you and this queue is infinite, then you will never get a book, because infinity doesn't finish. You see what I mean?
Yeah. But
It'll be
okay, I understand.
It'll be an unending queue.
You can't really give infinite value because there's always something bigger than that value.
Absolutely, yes. So that is what I mean by infinite regress. So you cannot say that what caused this cause. For example, if you say there is a cause A and B and C and D and so on, yes, we know that everything that begins to exist has a cause. Since the universe began to exist, we know that it must have a cause. And this cause is not something which began to exist by itself. That means it is eternally existing. Yes?
Yeah.
Second, that it is something which is independent and it is not contingent on anything else.
Okay.
So obviously if it depends on something, so it needs to necessarily exist.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is not special pleading, because otherwise you will never have our own existence if you have this infinite regress thing. So that's why I'm saying the buck has to stop somewhere, and that is what we say is this. If you want to call it intelligent designer, or if you want to call it supernatural being, if you don't want to use the term God, that's fine. As long as you believe that there is someone or something who is intelligent,
do you believe
ever existing.
So like how the Earth or like the universe was created as it's so perfect, it had to be created by someone? Do you believe that?
I believe that, yeah. Not only the universe, yourself. Take yourself as an example.
But then,
because
why is there suffering doesn't that sort of counteract it? So
not really, because
if let's say, so you know how the Earth is a certain distance from the sun. How can like an explosion do that? Only someone can do that. So we're at a certain distance from the sun.
Yeah.
Not too close to burn, not too far to freeze. How can someone do that, but then allow certain catastrophes in other countries happen?
Yeah.
Is what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's so. You see, we believe that this life we have here is a test. So you might have ups and downs in your life.
Okay.
Yes, it's not constant. Everybody has ups and downs, regardless of who you are. Yes, you must have experienced some calamity or some death in your family, or I don't know, some disease or something like that. I mean, take the pandemic for example.
Yeah.
No one imagined this would happen and bring countries into lockdown. You see what I mean?
So you're saying this? But let's take it.
This is part of the test. So what we believe that God exists, and that intelligent designer or that supernatural being is God. So to put a label to it, the reason we say God, because God is the one who is actually created us, and He's the one who sustains us, and He's the one who is responsible basically for everything. Yes? And when I say responsible, I mean like He's the one in control of everything. So when you look at diseases, and when you look at calamities, when you look at anything that is that impacts us in life, yes, but then the opposite of that is also available. Like for example, there's not just unhappiness in the world, there is also happiness. So there are mothers who desire to have there are men and women who desire to have children, and God blesses them with children and they're quite happy. Yes, so there is happiness and unhappiness as well in this world, and that's the reason we have to go through this test, and God tests us for our patience, for our ability to how we actually.
So do you have to learn to accept this unhappiness? Is what you're saying?
You know there's happiness and unhappiness.
So let's say there's an earthquake happening.
Yeah.
Do you think that's God, or God like testing you, or sort of like testing?
Yeah, absolutely. So take the case of tsunamis, earthquakes, or any other natural disasters. All this is basically a test for the people who endure it, and even the people who die in it. Yes, for them also it's a test. So even though for us it might be something really a horrible death or something really, but you see, at the end of the day, if God is the one who created us, yes, you know, the Muslims, we say that when somebody dies, we say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un.